I think you're the most fraudulent person sitting on this couch. You live a different fucking life off camera than you do on camera, and you had a girlfriend.
So the Summer House Reunion Part 2 aired a couple of days ago and it was packed with drama. They picked up right from where they left off last week, with Amanda crying after Ciara essentially called her an insecure pick-me. Kyle, for some reason, still held back because apparently he was worried about Amanda's mental state and her shutting down, possibly, or not being able to face her own actions, which I call bullshit on. Like, if she was really struggling that much, I'd lay off as well, but it seems like she is playing up the helpless victim to avoid responsibility. The woman is 35 years old, who, with her full wits about her, started a relationship with her good friend's ex-boyfriend after knowing full well he's an immature twat who embarrassed the shit out of Ciara. And I've never seen a more punchable face than Wes's. The whole time he was just mute and was looking around doing a baby face like he was confused why everyone is so mad. And everyone on that stage looked in disbelief and just heard that these two people are actually pretending to not get the degree of their betrayal, not only to Ciara but to Amanda's marriage and to the whole group, you know? Like, they didn't just lie to everyone's faces for months. The whole thing was just bizarre, and you could cut the tension with a knife, which I guess Amanda felt because 10 minutes into the episode, they took a break so she can run off to her dressing room to calm down. Then Lindsay proceeded to bully Wes into following her, which was just peak reality TV. That woman is a goddess.
You should go after your fucking girl. Be a fucking man. Just want to be a fucking man, make the decision as a man, and go after her.
And once Andy announced a break, then came the real tea, because a couple of cast members sat around Kyle and he finally spoke for what feels like the first time since the reunion began. And he really focused on Wes being a complete fraud. That man-child apparently had a full girlfriend for the entirety of 2025. Which includes when he made out with Ciara on the show during the summer, when he told Ben that he had a crush on her, and up until he started his relationship with Amanda. Then once the break was over, they actually brought out Dara. Now remember, before Dara and KJ hooked up, she was actually Wes's ex-fling and good friend. And Andy asked her what she thinks of Wes in a relationship and as a boyfriend, and she read him like a book. Unfortunately, at that point, Amanda was still backstage, so she didn't hear what Dara said, and they had to do a quick segue into Ben, Jesse, and KJ's summer, while waiting for fragile Amanda to get back to her job, mind you. Now, quick recap for Ben. Apparently, Ben and Sabrina are still together. She met his parents in Australia and they are doing great. She actually helped Ben and his apparently emotionally distant, born-again Christian conservative father hug for the first time since he, I guess, was a teenager and they had a falling out, which was both heartbreaking but also explains a little bit about Ben and his version of masculinity that Bailey touched on during, the first part of the reunion. But Ben at least seems like a man who is trying to emotionally grow, unlike West, so we'll give him that. And that was a nice segment, and I am glad that, positive queens like Sabrina are out here doing charity work like this. And then once that was over, Amanda finally decided to return to the stage, only for messy Andy to ask Dara again if there was anything that she wanted to say to Amanda about Wes as a boyfriend. And I don't know if the girl had some residual resentment still from their relationship, but she let it rip. Didn't hold back. She basically called him a narcissist and told Amanda that she's always going to be in his shadow because he likes it that way and he cannot stand for his women to shine brighter than him, which makes sense why he, treated Ciara the way he did. Then Andy, I think, decided to let her simmer in that for a moment and then moved on to the rest of the cast, starting with Jesse's unfortunate move on Ciara during the summer with the kissing debacle, which I am so sad about that. I think Jesse and Wes used to get bundled up together like they were the same person, but I think Jesse Solomon has definitely matured, and if he had the balls to seriously pursue Ciara, I think she would have gone for it. Instead, he gave Wes the pleasure of thinking that he had no chance. It just goes to show you that you need to back yourself, because sometimes your so-called friends are actively gonna put you down. And by the way, Jesse is killing it. He's pursuing his music and he's going on tour, despite online trolls hating on it. So if you're a Jesse fan, here are the cities that he's touring. Buy a ticket and support a decent guy trying to make it in the music biz, because there aren't that many decent ones in reality TV. And by the way, his impromptu song they played at the reunion was actually really good, and it's now in my Spotify rotation, so don't even sleep on him. Next was Caro and Lindsay's segment, and it's honestly a miracle how far these two have come in the past 2 years. Lindsay finally got her genuine apology this season, and it feels like a weight has been lifted off of both of their shoulders, and they have gained some understanding of each other. She's ready to move on. I think Caro realized finally that how he handled the situation not only broke her heart but also embarrassed her publicly. So he took responsibility for that again. And I think they can be great friends moving forward. Who knows? I honestly see a little twinge in both of their eyes when they're talking. So they might even try it back on at some point. Now that the pressure is off and Lindsay doesn't have a timeline to stick to. They also discussed Caro and Kyle's fight. Kyle took responsibility, which was surprising, but I'm pleasantly surprised. After watching the season, I believe they both have a better understanding of where each of them was coming from, so that got squashed easily. But then Andy circled back to Kyle and Amanda's relationship and did so in parallel to her and Wes's relationship this summer, and things got weird to say the least. The one revelation I think is important is that when Wes stood up to Kyle and defended Amanda, when Kyle cursed her out those couple of times this summer, she apparently felt like Wes actually cared about her, not just as a castmate, but on like a personal human level. And I think that's important because the cameras were catching this closer relationship all summer. In fact, watching it back and seeing how many times Wes either said something or intervened into their marriage, it does feel like they already did something and were closer than we've seen them ever before. What was interesting was that people drew the comparison between Kyle and Wes, which I actually hadn't thought of, and it does feel like Amanda has a certain type. Just the blonde, blue-eyed party boy, immature in many ways, will most likely do her dirty. It was in front of my eyes the whole time, but, I didn't see it. But Wes is a young version of Kyle, and, Amanda is just stupid. By the way, if she hadn't done this, everyone would have been on her side all the way, because Kyle essentially admitted that he has had multiple lapses of judgment, where he has made out with other women over the years. He has stayed at fans' apartments in the middle of the night and essentially stepped out of the marriage, not just once. So nobody would blame Amanda for leaving or not wanting to sleep with him for 4 years, which, yes, by the way, they haven't been intimate apparently for 4 years. But her going for Wes feels like she's punishing Kyle, and also completely disregarding Ciara, like she wasn't the best friend she could have possibly asked for in that time. It's wild. And by the way, Ciara was having fun this episode, constantly pointing out how absurd all of this is and how good of a friend she has been in contrast with what Amanda has done. And then they broke for lunch, and once everyone got to their dressing rooms is when things got weird, I would say, because Amanda and Wes were filmed being what I think is very indifferent to the situation, but trying to pretend like they care, to apologize and to do better and to be the bigger people. But then Ciara was in her room and she got on the phone with the girlfriend that Wes has been hiding, and we learned that he told her he loved her, that she was staying in his house during the summer when they were filming, and she decorated his house. Like, they were in a full-blown committed relationship, but he told her that he can't possibly go public because he would get fired from the show, which Kyle, who also popped into the conversation, confirmed that to be nonsense and that Bravo doesn't have such a policy. Miha, which is the name of the girlfriend, actually looked distressed, and that's how part 2 of the reunion ended. So I'm sure the finale is gonna be explosive. They're really gonna focus on the details, and from the vibe of Amanda and Wes in the dressing room, it doesn't look like they're prepared for it. It feels like they're gonna get their wires crossed, and I'm not even sure Amanda knows about the extent of Wes's relationship with this girl, so it's going to be interesting how that plays out. Someone said that after the reunion ended, they ended up leaving together, but I would actually pay money to be a fly in that car, because I think the reunion probably gave them a few things to talk about, and I think their romance is going to end up being more short-lived than even they expected, if they haven't broken up already. Now, that was it for this episode. Let me know what you think of part 2 of the reunion. How did you think the castmates handled themselves? Who do you think is more to blame here? Is it Wes? Is it Amanda? And just leave a comment below. I would love to know what people are thinking. And I'll see you back here for the finale next week. Can't wait.